You know, Bud Light has been out of the news cycle lately, justifiably so. They've kind of played a very low profile outside of a couple of hiccups every now and again. They've kind of course corrected, or at least have attempted to. Don't know how it's going to work out in the long term because 2024 is there's a lot of hurdles that you're going to have to go ahead and cross. But teaming up and trying to get all of the goodwill from the UFC and especially Dana White, that was a sharp move. The NFL sponsorship, don't really know if that's paying off all that well, dumping a bunch of money into the MLB as well. Again, like some diminishing returns, but like it's going to point out here in this article very shortly, it's definitely fallen out of the cultural zeitgeist. Not the overall opinion of Bud Light, it's just its day on day on day on day on day of headline grabbing. That's in the rear view mirror, but it sure was fun while it lasted. So let's just check in and see how well Bud Light is or isn't doing. Bud Light might not be in the eye of the culture war storm, but while scrutiny has eased off the company in recent months, the brand is far from recovered from the boycott called in April by its conservative customers, according to experts. Yeah, sales have not resuscitated at all, okay? The fact that the stock prices haven't even come back to anything close to what they were doing at the beginning of the year lets you know that the cultural perception of the brand is where it is, and they're going to have to do a hell of a lot or put a lot of time between their disaster, their dust up with good old Dylan Mulvaney, two-time Woman of the Year for 2023. Unfucking believable. But we'll see. While the controversy that followed the brand's partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney is now several months in the past. Yeah, that all started April 1st, by the way, which is wild to think about. Here we are 7 months, just about 8 months. Holy shit, this year flew by the way. There was a lot of stuff to talk about, but we're already closing in on December. That's wild. Reporting a 13.5% decline in the third quarter, the United States revenue per 100 liters, a key industry metric. Anheuser-Busch, the world's biggest brewer, said that sales in the United States dropped by nearly 17%, primarily due to a volume decline in Bud Light, exactly straight from the horse's ass. Unfortunately, Bud Light's campaign faux pas is not yet in the rearview mirror, but they're working hard, okay? You got to give credit where credit is due. I'll just be very interested to see if they recover or they make any sort of inroads during the holiday season, and then especially when they become front and center with the UFC. I don't know, is that going to end up lining up with them being right in the center? They're going to have prime positioning for UFC 300? It better not do anything fucked up, otherwise Dana White's just going to go ahead and rip up that contract, because we know, especially with the Peloton bikes, the dude doesn't play. Sales have slumped, and even their chief marketing officer, Benoit Garby, stepped down recently. Yeah, that and so many other people. Oh yeah, Garby's done at the end of the year. Daniel Blake, he got tossed. He was the head of marketing, I think, for Anheuser-Busch, and then Alyssa Heinerschneid was also fired. Oh no, she was relieved, placed on indefinite leave, but also the whole indefinite part of, you just don't bother coming back. Take your shit so you don't have to come back and box it up later. She continued, all right, adding, the Bud Light's woes contain a lesson for brands everywhere. Know your audience and stay true to your brand voice. Exactly. This is why the newest Bud Light, okay, just in case some people like their mixed drinks that are out there, especially mixed, okay, so you can go ahead and grab a bottle of Absolut. Listen, I've never drank in my entire life. It's not something that I do at all whatsoever. It's something that I pride myself on doing. But I've, just by sheer proximity in the places that I live, taken a look at, you can go ahead and run some of the numbers and take a look at addiction rates in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. And yeah, you can go and see that this is one of the more, well hydrated districts in all of Canada, if not all of North America. So I've been around some people who like to imbibe in the spirits, not just on a holiday occasion, but throughout the entire year. And vodkas, it's normally the drink of choice. As you probably know, depending on where you're at, it mixes with just about everything, and that's apparently what Absolut is hoping that it will do. And why they would go ahead and drop this right ahead of the good wholesome holiday season, okay, it's interesting. Normally, spousal abuse is associated with, cheap lager, but now that everybody's going to be getting together for the season, I guess you're trying to send a message that the gays are going to be lonely, so here, have some vodka to go ahead and drown your sorrows, especially when your test results came back in not as negative as you were hoping them, but they're getting cooked, absolutely cooked in the replies. Yo, Jack Posobiec, that's gay. Mostly peaceful memes. Yeah, just immediately looking over to Bud Light going, you motherfuckers didn't learn anything, huh? But let me just go ahead and check that out here. Right to bear memes. Exactly. Like everybody's, making the obvious connections. Absolutely not. God, no, see, women can be funny. Y'all are gonna be a Bud Light if you keep this up. I don't necessarily think that's gonna end up being the case because, well, unless, of course, in the background right there, it gets shown that that's not necessarily the woman that they're portraying it to be, but instead, Dan Mulvaney, Dylan's brother or sister, or I don't know, but yeah, man. Them making the strong stance, okay, Absolut Vodka, proudly supporting the LGBTQ plus community for 40 years and counting. Why now? Why? Again, like if this came out, if this was just another one of those things that showed up during June, it's like, oh my God, another brand just adhering to the message. But on the doorstep of December, okay, during the most wholesome time of the year, why now? And then I do a little bit more digging onto this one, and well, they are completely and totally down for the message. So let's take a look at some of the messaging we have here. Absolut Vodka and the big gay community with Absolut Vodka. Oh, this is care of Lesbian News, by the way. You know them. You probably read some of their articles. Anyways, with Absolut Vodka recently launching their new Absolut Elix, complete with the new LGBTQ, or no Q on this one, campaign featuring the Perrault Richard brands. Oh, so just like Anheuser-Busch, they have everything that's under the umbrella, also following suit. Maybe this will be something close, but I kind of doubt it. We thought of looking back at the history between the vodka brand and the big gay community. After all, who here among us hasn't had an... Yeah, I don't really care about all of this bitch babble, especially when it's, the U-Haul enthusiast crowd. Last week, Absolut Vodka launched their new LGBTQ campaign with the partnership of Equality California. Color me surprised. Just not with a rainbow flag, that's gay. And celebrating International Transgender Day of Visibility. Okay, now it makes a whole lot more sense because last week I think there was something about, or was that the week before? I don't know. There was a week of trans on top of every other. Like, these motherfuckers have more fucking days of remembrance or acknowledgement. More fucking calls to visibility than a fucking Roman Reigns promo. The multi-brand campaign called We're Not Your Average Family. Oh, good. We'll target families. We'll target the big gay community and we'll feature Absolut, Altos, Tequila, Jameson, Malibu, and Absolut Elix. We're not your average family. Take a look at all of our booze. Interesting. Very interesting. Rick Zabur, Absolut executive director, said, we've spent a lot of time responding to threats of the Trump administration. Oh my fucking God. You serious? Okay. Including rollbacks on big gay students in our schools. Can you cite the policy, or is that just you watching way too much MSNBC that's clouded your mind? And, of course, it's doubling down on efforts to ban transgender people serving in the military. Yeah, I want the best and brightest, not the, most special among us serving. Color me persnickety. We were one of 4 organizations to sue the Trump administration, and we're successful in getting a nationwide injunction in California. Oh, good. And we know that is going to stand, Zabur said. Likewise, Daniel Clark, brand director for the leader of the company's big gay employee resource group, said the campaign focuses on equality because just like you, we believe all of our brands are equally tasty. Exactly. Everybody thought, okay, we had a blind taste test and everybody who was butt bonging really loved our brand opposed to our competitors. It was fucking wild. So they're big-time allies to the big gay community, by the way. This is because Absolut first tried to import to the United States in 1979. The gay community was an early adopter of our brand. Citation needed. We're on the outside looking in. Fantastic. Exactly the same thing happened with the gay community at the time. Jeffrey Moran, Vice President of Influencer Engagement and Marketing Activate. What a fucking worthless title you have. At Pernod Ricard. Only the fucking French could bring this shit over. Told the Los Angeles Blade, another gay outlet. We also had a pretty intrepid distributor who happens to lean into the gay community. He probably pushes back with his hips. He has a frequent patron of the clubs such as Studio 54. in New York City. Well, now there's not so many gay clubs, Pulse kind of put a fucking damper on, big gatherings or anything like that. Now they just decide to frequent preschools. With these first steps, Absolut placed its first ad Absolute Perfection in gay publications like After Dark, The Advocate, The New York Native, and Inches in the 1980s, while nobody else in marketing was talking about the community. Fantastic, guys. Well, now, of course, now that we can go ahead and jump to current day, we can go ahead and see that everybody is talking about Absolut. And knowing that Absolut Vodka absolutely won't be at anybody's dinner table once they all start to assemble, or will be taking a backseat to Grey Goose when the Christmas parties begin to get underway. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.